The ARLA Tornado Alley Truck Series heads to their 5th race of the 2013 season, the inaugural memorial presented by the Tiffany Matthews Memorial Fund at the Lime Rock Park in Connecticut. Now, this race has been the center of controversy ever since it was first announced, but rather than getting into the details of it, because it really is a long drawn-out story, let's just get right to the action. TM Lights regular Joe Olenek will start on the pole here, as this race was made the third over-capacity event, meaning one-offs could enter this race along with the full-time and part-time teams. Barry Spangler, one of the championship contenders, starting on his outside, as Olenek's going to hold the lead coming out of the big bend, coming into the left-hand turn here, where Spangler's going to have the advantage, but Olenek is going to have the preferred line going into the right-hander. So, yeah, Olenek's going to keep the lead there, as Mike Howard, the Daytona winner, is in third, battling with AJ Hayward, as they're still side-by-side, coming into the uphill turn and coming into the chicane, and it looks like Olenek's gonna keep the lead here. Here's Megan Driver and John Castillo already making progress, as they've already passed 5 trucks. Both of these guys received grid penalties after questionable driving at Grand Detour last week, something that Driver cannot afford, as she is the points leader right now, and this is really going to hurt her points-wise, as she's now got a lot of traffic to work through. Barry Spangler is now going to have a shot to lead at Joe Olenek as they come out of the left-hander going into the right-hander, as Spangler's going to have the preferred line on there, and going down the Notre Dame straight there side-by-side, as Spangler's going to have the preferred line going into the uphill turn, and looks like he's going to take the lead here coming out of that and going into the chicane, and now it looks like Olenek's going to be challenged for second by Mike Howard. Here is Ryan Matthews, the obvious sentimental favorite for this race, currently running in the 6th position, as he's got his younger sister Taylor Matthews right behind him. Matthews is driving a second truck for Team CTR, teammate Joe Olenek. Matthews using the number 46, the last number that Tiffany drove in that Hangman World Championship race, as Matthews does have a realistic shot to win this race so far, as remember that he took over the 116 car in the Elite Series after that race. Taylor also having a great run so far, as she runs full-time in street stocks. So both of the Matthews in this race having decent runs so far in their first time in a truck. Meanwhile, Mike Howard having a shot at Joe Olenek for second as they go into the big bend, as Howard's going to have the preferred line there, and it looks like he may even clear Olenek. No, not exactly. As they come out of that, as they go into the left-hander, Olenek's going to have the preferred line there, as you see coming out of that and going into the right-hander. And this is where Howard is going to have the advantage, and Howard's going to move up to second and now have a shot to chase down Spangler. As here is Spangler, as Howard's now attempted to catch up to him. Spangler entered this race 4th in points, 80 points behind Megan Driver. But after the penalties that Driver was given after Grand Detour, Spangler can capitalize hugely on that, as he currently leads the race, as this can put him back in title contention, if not the points lead itself, as Howard is now right behind Spangler right now. There's going to be an incident towards the back of the field, as Kyle Cobb is going to shove Samantha Spires into the end of the pit wall as she spins back up on track. Thankfully, the last 4 cars don't hit her. But as you can see there, Spires' day is done 4 laps into this race. Here's the onboard shot here, as looks like Cobb just shoved Spires into the pit wall for no apparent reason, as there was nothing really Spires can do to avoid that situation, as Spires, who appeared to have the perfect season to start out, not finishing worse than second the first 3 races, had the points lead after Texas, wrecked out of Grand Detour, and now will suffer 2 straight DNFs, as this is going to really hurt her title shots. Trey Ashby, one of the one-offs, is going to move out in response to Spires spinning up on track, and moves up into his father, Tommy Ashby, and it's going to spin him into the wall. But luckily, only suffering minor damage, Ashby will continue the race, unlike Spires. Here is TMS Cup Series driver Alessandro Rossini, driving a second truck for his team, Rossini Sport, currently running in the top 10 right now. Of course, that's what you would expect from a Master Cup driver, even though he does drive for the underpowered Scuderia Titino team. As you see, a number of one-off entries within the top 10, actually beating the regulars. That's going to take valuable points away from them towards the championship, especially on account that most of them are that top 6 that have been dominating the season. Meanwhile, AJ Hayward looks like he's going to challenge Joe Olenek for 3rd as they go into the right-hander. As you see, Hayward gets under him here as they side by side going into the no-name straight. As you see there, he's going to have the preferred line going into the uphill turn and into the chicane. Yeah, it looks like Hayward's going to clear Olenek here as he's going to drop back to 4th. But that won't be the last position he loses, as the 3rd CTR truck of Sebastian Dubois is now going to try to pass him for 4th. Oh, I think they almost made contact there going into turn 1, as Dubois is going to get the position with ease. As now Olenek now drops back to 5th. No, Olenek's going to try to fight back going into the left-hander, but Dubois is going to have the preferred line going into the right-hander, and Dubois is going to get the position. Here's a nice camera angle here as we see the battle for the lead between Barry Spangler and Mike Howard as they go into the right-hander. And oh, Howard has a run on Spangler coming out of the right-hander as they're now side by side going down no-name straight, as Howard's now going to have the preferred line going into the uphill turn and the chicane, and it looks like Howard's going to take the lead. Howard, who won at Daytona, the other overcapacity event this season, and has also run really fast despite being part-time. As a matter of fact, he's actually 7th in points despite missing 2 races, so that just is an indication of how strong that team has been, and this race is no exception, as he's been able to keep up with the top 6 teams that have been dominating the season. As now AJ Hayward is now going to try to pass Spangler for 2nd. As you see, Sebastian Dubois is now caught up with this pack, as now he's going to pass Spangler for 3rd, as Spangler now drops back to 4th, as Hayward now tries to chase down Howard. But Dubois isn't done yet. He's now going to have a shot at Hayward for 2nd as they go into turn 1 here. As you see, the first couple of turns are set up here. You'll have the preferred line in one, not the next, and then have the preferred line again in the next one. As you see, that's proven to be true here as Hayward keeps the position there, but Dubois is going to take it coming out of the right-hander. As you saw there, Taylor Matthews now joining this battle as well. And in no time at all, Dubois has now caught up to Mike Howard, and he's going to try to fight for the lead. Can't exactly do it just yet, he's going to stay right behind him. But Dubois, a new face in the sport, as haven't really heard a lot about him. Now let's see if Dubois is going to have a run going into the right-hander. Yes, he's going to get under him here as they're now going to be side by side going into the no-name straight. As I said before, Dubois is going to have the preferred line going into the uphill turn and the chicane. As you see here, Sebastian Dubois is going to take the lead from Mike Howard. As you see, Taylor Matthews now in 3rd, as you can literally throw a blanket over the top 5 as they are that close. The Team CTR truck seems to be really hooked up today. Joe Olenek got the pole. Ryan Matthews seems to be running strong as well, and now Sebastian Dubois leads the race on lap 25. The leaders are going to come in to kick off green flag pit stop as Dubois hits the end of the outside pit wall. The leader has just taken himself out of the race while entering pit road. As you see, take a look here. Yeah, he came in way too hot on entry, and Dubois, who looked like he was had a good shot to win the race, is now out. As you can see, the rest of the top 5 also comes in this lap, with the exception of Taylor Matthews, who stays out an additional lap. As you can tell by the shot that the top 5 had a huge gap over the rest of the field, as here comes Lucy Barnton and Alessandro Rossini. Oh, and Rossini almost does the same thing as Dubois, and that is going to be a commitment violation for Rossini, as he will be held for 30 seconds on pit road. As you can see in the shot here, half the field also comes in this lap. The very next lap, Jeremy Baker is going to come into pit road, and he also overshoots the pit entry, as that's not going to be a commitment violation for him, as it's something that Baker does not need, as he entered this race 2nd in points, tied with Samantha Spires. As you can see the shot here, Aubrey Wood, one of the one-offs, does the exact same thing. To clarify this situation a bit, you have to come into pit road between those 2 cones on entry. If you go on the outside of either one, that's going to be a penalty. And as Baker comes out of his pit stop after serving the 30 seconds, he's going to make contact with Aubrey Wood, as things can't get much worse for Baker. He had to stay in pit road for an extra 30 seconds, and now he may have possible damage and even further penalties coming his way, as a lot of series I know usually don't condone contact on pit road. Joe Olenek stayed out an additional lap, as he's been moving his way downwards since about the middle of that run, trying to stay out as much as he can to see if he can make up any ground that he could on clear racetrack. Well, the problem is he's in a swarm of lap traffic, so that kind of defeats the purpose, as he's going to come in this time by, I think he's the last truck to come in to be exact, After pit stop cycle through, it's going to be Taylor Matthews in the lead. AJ Hayward is in second, Mike Howard in third. Barry Spangler is back in fourth. He's a little further behind in this pack. As let's see if Hayward can make a move on Matthews for the lead. As no, he's going to stick behind her yet. Usually the right-hander has been the preferred passing zone. As let's see, he's going to go here. Yes, he is. As they're now going to be side by side in their own name straight. And you pretty much know the drill by now. Hayward's going to have the preferred line going into the next two turns. As Hayward's going to take the lead, and now Matthews is going to have to try to fight off Mike Howard for second, as it looks like she's going to do that, as she has a better run coming out of the chicane, and eventually she's going to clear Howard. Here is Megan Driver, now just outside the top 20 after green flag pit stops, which really helped her on the count that she wasn't really making up much ground beforehand. She wasn't really navigating through traffic well, so if she's going to lessen the damage that she's going to take in the points, she's going to have to rely on pit work, and we got at least one more pit stop left. As the way this point system works, you only gain more points by gaining position from 20th on up, so a driver trying to leave here with at least something. Meanwhile, Mike Howard is going to have a shot at Taylor Matthews for second, as he's going to go under it coming out of the right-hander, as I'm tired of repeating myself at this point. You know what's going to happen now, as he's coming into the uphill turn in the chicane. He is going to clear Matthews, and Spangler is now right behind her now. Here is Lucy Barton, currently running in the 5th position, as she's run pretty quietly all day. As you see, the top 4 are nowhere to be seen, as the Elite Series regular making her second appearance of the season, as she finished top 5 at Daytona, as it looks like she's en route to get another top 5 finish today. Here is David Savidelli in the main truck for Raciti Sport, currently running just outside the top 10. As we've said numerous times, that the Catlin Series has been dominated by 6 teams. We really haven't talked about it, any of the smaller teams, and Savidelli, one of the part-time teams, having a strong run today, so yeah, good job for him. Meanwhile, back up front, as you can look in the shot, AJ Hayward has checked out, as we're now just past halfway. Now, there's been a unique case with Hayward this season. As I've said numerous times, there's been the 6 teams that have dominated all season, and then there's everybody else. Hayward has actually kind of been flying under the radar of the top teams. He has 3 top 10s out of the first 4 races, and now it looks like it appears that he's running away with this thing right now. Here is Ryan Matthews, currently running in 6th. Matter of fact, he's actually catching up to Lucy Barton for 5th, as Matthews has had a relatively quiet day so far, as he's been running kind of just outside the top 5 for most of the race, as he's, like I said, he's catching up to Barton. Let's see if he can make a charge for 5th when he gets up there. Meanwhile, battle for second really heating up, as Barry Spangler now has a run on Taylor Matthews as they go down the no-name straight, as Spangler's going to have the preferred line, as you probably already know already, as here they go going into the chicane, and Spangler is going to take the spot, and now he's going to try to attempt to chase down AJ Hayward, who was about 6 to 7 seconds ahead. Here is Zach Gott and Tammy Barton racing each other for, I believe, the 7th spot. Now, we haven't talked a lot about these two today, as they're within the championship picture as well, and will capitalize greatly on Megan Driver having to start in the back. As you see Joe Olenek back there as well behind these two, as you can tell how much he's fallen off. And wait a second, Olenek is actually passing Gott for 8th, as now David Savidelli is now passing Gott for 9th. Gott's going to drop back to 10th. Meanwhile, Ryan Matthews is finally caught up to Lucy Barton, as the two of them now battle for 5th, as they go down the no-name straight, as, hold on, the camera change, there we go, as he's going to get the spot, of course, as usual, going into the chicane, as these guys are a ways back from 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, but are a little ways ahead of the rest of the field behind them. Meanwhile, Alessandro Rossini has now finally gotten back within the top 30 after that commitment violation on the first pit stop. Rossini has had no trouble getting through traffic, as both of the Raciti Sport trucks have proven to be very fast today, as David Savidelli has proven, as he's running in the top 10 now, and Rossini was in the top 10 before that commitment violation. So he's moving through the field quite nicely. I don't know if it's too late for him to get a good result out of it, though. The battle for 3rd really is starting to heat up now, as Barry Spangler is starting to pull away now in 2nd, as Howard's going to make the move in the right-hander like everybody else has today. As you see, there he goes, and you know the drill at this point. He's going to have the preferred line going into the uphill turn, and he's going to clear her going into the chicane. As you see that happening right now, as Howard's now going to move up to third. On lap 49, the final round of green flag pit stops kicks off with Ross Nolan and Sean Weldon. Both are actually running in the top 15, as those are two of the part-time entries. As you just saw there, Alex Orosky, one of the one-offs, overdrive pit entry. That's going to be a commitment violation for him. Very next lap, AJ Hayward's going to come in for his final stop. They actually may be cutting it close here, as they went about 25 laps the first run, and they've gone about 24, 25 laps the next run. So we actually may be cutting it close on fuel here. As you see here, Michaela Carter almost run into the outside pit wall, just as Sebastian Dubois did earlier in the race, and I think they actually made contact with the wall. But anyway, that's going to be another commitment violation there. Joe Olenek is going to do what he did on the last pit stop, and that is stay out an additional lap. Being that we may be cutting it close on fuel, I don't blame him for making this move, as the very next lap, he's still not coming in. Now, other than making sure that he has enough fuel to make it to the end, I really don't see it with the purpose of staying out this long, as similar to last time, he has lap traffic. It's not like he had clear racetrack. If he did, I would see the reason why he would try to stay out and just see if he can make up as much ground as he can. But eventually, Olenek will come down pit road and make his final pit stop of the race. After pit stop cycle through, AJ Hayward is going to have a 12.5 second lead over Mike Howard, who is in second, as it looks fairly clear that Hayward is running away with this race, as he's flown under the radar of the title contenders, and looks like he's going to beat all of them today, as we're going down 20 to go. Here's Barry Spangler now running in the 6th position, as the team really lost a lot of ground on that pit stop, as looks like they really caused him a shot to win the race. Not that it really mattered on the count that looks like Hayward's running away with the race anyway. As you probably see there, the battle ahead of him for 4th between Lucy Barnton and Ryan Matthews really heating up, as Barnton is going to have the preferred line going into the chicane, and it looks like Barnton's going to keep the spot, as Matthews is going to drop back to 5th, as Spangler now right behind these two now. Here is the battle for 8th between David Savadelli and Zach Gott. Now, I can't say enough on what an amazing job that Savadelli is doing today, as he's fighting off some of the best in the league right now, as he's holding off Gott right now. As I said before, not often we talk about the little teams, but they're definitely getting it done today. Another successful pit stop by Megan Driver has now put her in 15th, as the pit crew of that 41 team has done an excellent job on getting her through the field, as remember, she started in the final row due to penalties from last week, as now the damage that she will take in points will not be as bad as it possibly could have been. So great job by that 41 team. As the laps wind down, Mike Howard is actually catching up to AJ Hayward. He has essentially cut the lead in half in only a number of laps, as we're coming down to the final stages of this race. Question is now, will Howard get there in time? As here is AJ Hayward now, as he is really not on the pace that he was before that run. Either, I can think of two possible scenarios. Either they're trying to save fuel, or they really missed something while setting up that car on that last pit stop, because that, like I said before, that car is nowhere near the speed. As you just saw Mike Howard in the shot there, he is closing in, and he is closing in fast. As here we are now, 6 to go, as Hayward's lead has now been reduced to within 2 seconds, as Howard is right there, but no lap traffic in between either of them. Howard has a clear racetrack to catch up to him. However, catching up to him is one thing, passing him is another. But however, at this rate, I don't think Hayward has the speed to hold him off, on the count that, remember, he pretty much blew a 12-second lead after those pit stops. As here we are coming to 5 to go, as he actually opens up the lead a little bit, but Hayward just got to last 5 more laps before he can get his first ever victory here in the Tornado Alley Truck Series. As I guess you really can't call it an upset, but in a way I guess it kind of is, if you consider how this season has gone, as the top 6 plus Howard has had a huge advantage over everybody else. And as a matter of fact, only one full-time driver outside the top 6 has even recorded a top 5 finish this season. And that was Vincenzo Focasato last week at Grand Detour, who got the pole for that race. But Hayward has been up front the entire race. It looks like he was running away with it before that pit stop. A setup change apparently has gone wrong. Now it looks like he could lose it all in the closing stages here. 4 to go now as Hayward's lead has stabilized a bit. Hayward, like I said earlier, has flown under the radar of the major title contenders. He has shown the speed that he could possibly contend with them, and he has done that so far as he has dominated this race. But now he's got to hold off one of those aforementioned top teams. Coming to 3 to go now, as Hayward's lead is now reduced to about 1.5 seconds, as once Howard gets up to him, Hayward will only have to hold him off for, let's say, about 2 laps. 2 laps, or Howard may actually catch up to him on the white flag lap. So Hayward isn't done just yet, as here they go, going into the right-hander and into the no-name straight. Hayward doing all he can to keep that distance between him and Howard. But as I said before, something must definitely be amiss with that car, as here they come going into the chicane. As you can see, Mike Howard coming into the shot now, as here they go going into the West Bend. As at this rate now, Howard's probably going to catch Hayward coming to the white flag. As here they go under the bridge and coming into the final turn. As you see Howard right there as they come out of the turn there. There's going to be 2 laps left in this race, as Hayward's lead is now about 1 second. This, like I said before, at this rate, Howard is going to at least catch up to him coming to the white flag. Whether or not Howard will be able to pass him is another thing. As you see Trey Ashby there, who's about to be put a lap down, but I don't think that's going to matter because I think he's faster than Hayward anyway, as they go into the exiting the left-hander and into the right-hander. As you see, Howard is closed up. He is right there right now as they go down no-name straight, as we got 1.5 laps to go, as here they go going into the uphill turn and into the chicane. And let's see how Howard's gonna have to make a move at some point, as he is right behind him now going down into the West Bend, as it's gonna come down to just 1 lap as they go into the final turn, as he is about 2 or 3 car lengths behind. As here they go, white flag is out here at Lime Rock, as Howard, he's going to try to make a move going into turn 1, and there he goes underneath Hayward, as there's nothing really Hayward can do on the outside, as Mike Howard is going to take the lead as they come out of the Big Bend, as Hayward attempts the crossover as they go into the left-hander, as the right-hander has been the preferred passing zone. Will Hayward get the lead back here? He's got to run under him, but he doesn't have the speed to complete the pass. As you can clearly tell who the faster truck is, as Howard is going to clear Hayward going into the uphill turn and into the chicane for the final time as they go down into the West Bend, as I think that was Hayward's last shot to get back the lead. Mike Howard erases a 12-second deficit in what looked like AJ Hayward was going to dominate the race. But no, it's going to be Mike Howard taking the checkered flag at the inaugural Memorial here at Lime Rock, and takes his 2nd win of the 2013 ARLA Tornado Alley Truck Series season. Howard has now won 2 of the 4 races he has participated in, and is also 2 for 2 in overcapacity events this season. Who would have thought at the beginning of the season that a part-time team would be this strong? AJ Hayward, the only full-time driver finishing in the top 5, led 42 of the 76 laps, and also he'll become the 2nd driver outside the top 6 in Howard to score a top 5 finish, which none of them did today. But that's largely due to the one-offs that entered this race, and this race only. If it wasn't for that, look, as you can tell by the results, it would be the same drivers at the top that have been at the top all season, and that's why the battle for the championship has been so one-sided. But anyway, Hayward looked like he was going to win this race easily. There's something went wrong with that truck in that final stint, and that's what cost him the win. Lucy Barnton, this is probably the last time we'll see her until probably Rockford. Ryan Matthews finishes in 4th. I think you could say that he had a great run today in the race, that was in honor of his late wife. And his younger sister Taylor Matthews rounds out the top 5 in 5th. Great run by the Street Stocks regular, as Barnton and the Matthews family are the class of the one-off field. Tammy Barnton is the next highest full-time driver in 6th. She had a very quiet run today. Barry Spangler finishes in 7th, was up in the mix the entire race. However, the team really blew that final pit stop, and that cost him a top 5 finish. Zach Gott finishes in 8th. Again, like Barnton, a very quiet run for him. Pole setter Joe Olenek finishes in 9th, and David Savadelli finishes in 10th. Awesome run by that 15 team in beating a majority of the regulars. This top 10 finish is well deserved. And here is the point standings after 5 races. As you would expect, the top 6 does not change at all. Megan Driver keeps the points lead despite the circumstances entering this race. As she started on the final row, this race could have potentially been catastrophic to her title efforts, and the fact that she leaves here with the points lead still is, I would say, mission accomplished, as she is 45 points ahead of Barry Spangler, who, if he would have won the race, probably could have taken the points lead from her. However, one bad pit stop kind of ruined that for him. Zach Gott's now in 3rd, 70 points behind. Tammy Barnton is in 4th, 85 behind. Samantha Spires and Jeremy Baker both enter this race tied for 2nd in points. Both had terrible runs today. Spires didn't finish, and Baker had plenty of things go wrong for him. They are now tied for 5th, 90 points behind. Tiebreaker is Spires has a win, Baker does not. So both of them took a hard hit in the points there, considering Spires had the points lead leaving Texas. And despite missing 2 races, Mike Howard is still in 7th, only 110 points behind Megan Driver. Out of 3 starts this season, he has 2 wins, 3 top 5s, and 3 top 10s. However, being that he's not scheduled to start another race till towards the end of the season, he probably will not stay there. However, one has to think, where would Howard be if he was running full-time? AJ Hayward is in 8th, 160 points behind. Most you can earn in a race is 140 points, so he's just outside a full race of Megan Driver, as he gave those top 6 a run for their money today. And here's where things start to separate a bit. Vincenzo Focasato is in 9th, 230 points behind the points leader. Now, he's the only other full-time driver with the top 5 this season. And rounding out the top 10 is Jacob Walls, almost 2 full races behind first place, 265 to be exact. So even though there's still 8 races left, I think it's safe to say that the title is going to go to any one of the top 6, as the series now heads to South Boston.